the #1 long-form writer that helps SEOs outrank competition at the click of a button using real-time research and NLP. Start ranking content today with content@scale.ai.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Thank you, Miriam. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to my talk. It's my first time at Brighton, and I'm so excited to be here. And today we'll be talking about SEO plus UX, or SXO, Search Experience Optimization. And, well, you just heard a little bit about me, so I was curious to see what Perplexity, similar to ChatGPT, knew about me. So I asked it, so who is Sara Fernández? And basically, this is, I took a screenshot because I was surprised that even an AI tool saw that, I care about today's topic so much, that I empathize the importance of combining both SEO and UX, and I truly believe, as AI says, that they cannot exist, without each other. So let's see why. So first of all, we're going to discuss some basic concepts about UX. This is going to help us both as SEOs, but also when we collaborate with UX teams, we're going to be able to have better conversations and better results if we understand the basics. So first of all, I'm going to introduce you to Don Norman and Jacob Nielsen. They are basically the fathers of UX design, pretty much. And as they said, user experience encompasses all the aspects of the end user's interaction with the company, its services, and its products. This means that when we're talking about user experience, we are also taking into account just any touch point that the user can have with an app, a website, a company. This means the customer service, even the packaging, just anything that has to do with what we are delivering, really. And another quote by Don Norman, so no product is an island. A product is more than just a product. It is a cohesive, integrated set of experiences. Again, UX goes beyond just that website or app itself. We are going to define some other important aspects. Well, but before that, we are going to see, so oftentimes people confuse UX, UI, and usability. So just a quick recap of what each of them are. So UX is making sure that users feel positive about a website or an app. It's about, being empathetic with them and making sure that they have a good experience. UI is making a website or app attractive and effective according to users' preferences. So it's the visual and interactive part of it. And then we have usability, which is making sure that a website or an app are easy to use and that they are straightforward. And now that we've covered these concepts, we're going to go a little bit deeper with methodologies that are going to help us analyze, understand if our solutions have a good UX or not. So the design thinking process is one of the most frequent ones to test solutions, to understand what can we improve. And well, this is basically, it starts with empathizing, so with understanding the user needs. Then we have define, so okay, what problems do they have? Like just mapping everything that we have to work on. Then ideate, so this is like the brainstorming process. Okay, so we have these issues, so what can we do about it, no? And then it comes to the prototyping stage, where we create prototypes, and then once we have them, when we already have completed all these phases, we test them with users. And then once we are over with it, we go back to the beginning. These processes are always very iterative. And then we have the double diamond methodology, which is even more. It's useful to test complex issues, especially complex situations. So it starts with exploring the problem, and then we decide what to fix. We test, and then we refine the final solution. It's very similar to what we just saw with the design thinking. And then we deliver the solution, and then once it's over, we start over again. It's always iterative. Again, another quote by Don Norman. So user-centered design, it means working with the users throughout the project. So it means that the users are always at the forefront of everything we do, and we always have to make sure that we meet their needs and that we design websites, apps that are matched with all of that. Another framework is the Peter Morville's user experience honeycomb. I can tell you are going to see a lot of bees today, by the way. So we have a honeycomb here that basically it helps us test a website, an app, its UX from multiple perspectives. So we can test it in the sense of, is this useful, desirable, usable, valuable, findable, credible, and accessible? So it's like a 360-degree framework. And then we also have, very important, that we take into account cognitive biases. So cognitive biases are like mental shortcuts that our brain does. And we all have them, and it's something that it's not rational, and even if we don't want to do it, it still happens. So it's important that we are aware of them. We're going to see some of the most frequent ones, which are, well, first of all, bear in mind that there are over 200, so obviously we're not going to see all of them today. And there's even one that I found very interesting that is called the Google effect. So the Google effect is that it's a tendency to forget information that can be found readily online by using internet search engines. So if you are curious about it, I invite you to check this list. Actually, the Wikipedia article is one of the best. That has like pretty much all of them, I believe. And yes, about cognitive biases, as I said, we all have them, so it's important that we are aware of them. But we don't need to fight them. Instead, it's important that we understand them, that we accept them, like acknowledge that they exist, that they're there, and that we understand them about how they influence our life and also our users that are going to be influenced by them as well. So similarly to cognitive biases, we also have UX laws, and they work very similarly. So when UX designers create a website or an app, they also take them into account. And some of the most frequent ones are, well, Hicks law. So I'm going to make an example. So when you are at a restaurant and you're given a menu that is super long and it's like, wow, I have like 50 dishes. They all look like delicious, but I don't know what to do. And you think and that you don't know what to choose. So it says that the more options a user is given, the longer it takes them to respond, to make a choice. So sometimes it's just better to keep it short and simple instead of overwhelming the user with so many options. Miller's law, it says that, well, basically the average user can keep in their memory around 7 items at once. So in order to help them, especially with card numbers or phone numbers, it is important that we separate the numbers just to help them a little bit. Jacob's law, it says that users are used to navigate websites that work and look similarly, so it is important that we kind of replicate what they are familiar with. This doesn't mean that we copy what our competitors do, because it may not be a good solution, but still, if we see that there are patterns, it is important that we take them into account. And the von Restorff effect, basically, it means that when we have different items and we highlight one in terms of color or shape, it is easier for users to remember that particular one. So if there's something that we want to highlight or that we are interested in them to see, it's important that we change that color. So now we've covered some UX basics. Finally, let's move to SEO and UX, or SXO. And SEO and UX, when they come together, there's this term that you'll keep seeing more and more online, which is search experience optimization. And it's basically SEO plus UX, so it's making sure that users find what they need when they are navigating online, and that, that we help them both from an SEO and UX perspective. And when they get together, it's a match made in heaven. It's perfect if you can have both. It's amazing, because when users are satisfied, search engines are satisfied as well. So it's a win-win for everybody. So now that we've covered SEO, UX, there's an important question that often people ask me when I talk about SXO, which is, so is it about SEOs learning how to do UX designers' job and vice versa? I'm not going to say it depends. I'm tempted though. But it's about understanding each other's responsibilities, about being kind of aware of the basics of each field. That helps when we come together, when we work together. It's going to be much better if we are aware of UX laws and anything, patterns like that can influence users. So in terms of organizing our teams to improve the collaborations, we often have this issue, not just with UX teams or just any teams we work with, which is when we have different responsibilities that sometimes it's like, okay, I can do this, but maybe this team is also in charge of it, and it's easy to fall into this trap and finger pointing, but rather than doing this, we should be doing this instead, which means that we should work as a team, but everybody has their responsibility, just a little bit like a honeycomb, so, it's teamwork in the end. So it's very important that we stop working in silos. So making sure that teams communicate and that all information is shared and that we get together. And also that we ask for user research data. This is a physical object, but this could be perfectly a website or an app. So make sure that if UX teams conduct user testing, just any focus group, any activity with users, make sure that you get this information, because also as SEOs, this is very valuable for us in order to create better websites. And then create effective communication channels. So if you work, for example, you use Slack, just any messaging app that has different groups, make sure that you invite those teams that could benefit from being there. And also something that really helps is creating some touch point meetings, like every 2 weeks, once a month. It depends on also, of course, your organization and your projects you're working on. But make sure that you have some touchpoint meetings. I know that we are all kind of, we tend to avoid meetings whenever we can use an email instead, and I agree with that. But there are meetings that have to happen, because otherwise we could be in situations where someone changed a heading and just to make the text bigger, and suddenly you have like 2 H1s on a page. And that can happen because maybe the designer was working on a landing page and SEO was not looped in. So it's important that we communicate. And then that we participate in design sprints as well. So in case you don't know what a design sprint is, it's basically when UX teams get together, they organize, they normally last like 5 days or 3 days. And basically during those days, they come up with ideas that they are projects they're working on, and they dedicate each day to, for example, Monday. So, okay, they make a map and they choose a target, and then on Tuesday they sketch, then Wednesday they decide on the best solution, Thursday they build a prototype, and Friday they test it. So it is important that SEOs are also looped in this process, because often what UX teams do is looping in, for example, engineering and product, and then SEO comes afterwards. It is important that SEOs are also, well, at least one member of the SEO team participates in design sprint. It's also very useful for you to understand, to get familiar with what UX designers do, and I truly recommend it. And also boost knowledge sharing. So it's very important that you create spaces where you can share information. It can be just a Slack channel, or also like a Google Drive folder that you share with trainings. Maybe the SEO team did a training that UX designers could also benefit from. Share that information. And also, it's also very useful if you have like, you create workshops, like SEO basics workshops for UX designers. It's going to make their lives, but also your lives, much easier, because you won't have situations where you suddenly have 2 H1s on a page or no H1s at all, and this kind of situation. Share all that knowledge. And also share all the data and the accesses. So similarly to what I mentioned about UX research, if you feel that there's UX SEO data that UX teams could benefit from, or tools that they could be using, for example, Google Search Console. make sure that they have access to that, and also make sure that they know how to use them, Search Console, for example, like have trainings with them, and also record those trainings to make sure that in the future you can still share them with new members, etc. And also, don't be afraid of prototyping tools. Even if you're not a designer, when you work for example, if you join a design sprint, it's very cool if you can also see how these prototypes are built with tools like Figma, for example, and you can also give your input. And if you're familiar with, how to use them, like the basics, it's also going to be much more productive for everyone. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you found it useful and that this can help you collaborate with UX designers better, and that you can see that why SXO is important and why we should be embracing this term a little bit more. So thank you.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.